Jean O'Toole. I am the Director of Public Relations and Promotions for the New York Beef Council. And I'm here to help you with your media training. And one of the things that I'm going to be talking about today is how to get your story across in 30 seconds or less. I have the top 10 list. And then I'll throw in some anecdotes. I've been with the Beef Council for 9 years. I've done a variety of TV cooking demos. I've been on the radio. There's a constant interaction. We've done media training with National Cattlemen's Beef Association. And this is basically what's been compiled on all those things, as well as tips from the TV stations and radio stations themselves. Number 10, if you have this sheet you can follow along, is choose the recipe that you're going to demo. Always choose it ahead of time. Really take a look at what you want to cook that day, what you can do. You don't want something that's too intricate, that is too many steps. You want to keep it very simple. Something that's very easy and to execute. If you're going to do a pot roast, that's fine, or grilling or stir fry, but that you'll be able to do some prep work with ahead of time and it's not too long and involved. And you want to think through those steps. When I look at a recipe when I'm going to be going on Bridge Street, as one of the stations that I work with, News Channel 9 in Syracuse, I take a look at what I want to feature for that day, and then I take a look at the recipe itself and see how many steps will it take or what will be involved with it. And I try to make it as simple as possible for me so that I can talk and not necessarily concentrate too much on the cooking. Which brings us to number 9. Think about your message. Now, my message is completely different than your message. As nutritionists, you are looking at that nutritional message. And I'm looking at indulgence, I'm looking at cooking techniques, I'm looking at cooking tips. And I'm also thinking about, for more recipes, go to www.nybeef.org or beefitswhatsfordinner.com. You want to think about your nutritional messages, and when you go into something, you want to think maybe 2, 3 is going to be a miracle, but realize that if you have 2 strong messages, you might just get 1 in, you might get 2, and you've got a 3rd one hanging out there just in case that you can throw in if you've got to vent for some time. Which brings me to number 8. Practice, practice, practice. Do a few dry runs. If you're not used to this, it's your first time, do something, pretend that you have the food in front of you, and then do it with the food, do it for family. I have a confession to make. After all these years, I know the recipe well enough that I just do it on the fly. Oftentimes when I get to the studio, I'm putting a recipe together the first time to create my beauty plate, and then I'm doing it live on TV. But I've looked over it, and I've mapped it out and figured it out ahead of time. But before you get used to that after all these years, I definitely suggest that you practice. Talk out loud when you practice too, so you can see how long it's going to take. I mean, what you can put in your head and what comes out in words are totally 2 different things. And organize your prep in the order how it fit into the recipe. Know which way you're going to do it. Put certain things that you're going to add over to the right and final steps to the left, like maybe a quick garnish. But make sure it's all laid out and it flows real easy so you're not crossing over and getting in front of the newscaster at the time or the host. Gather your supply is number 7. Read the recipe, write down all the pots, pans that you will need. Some places already have the pots and pans. If you're unsure, bring them. If you go back on a regular basis, you know what they have as far as supplies. Have a rolling cooler. I have like a little cart with a cooler that I always make sure I put everything in. Bring cleaning supplies. Nothing's worse than having dirty plates or a dirty grill, and then you got to put it back in the car, and then your car smells like the food that you've just cooked at the station, and then you just can't get rid of it. A little bit of soap, a dish towel so that you can clean, go, and if you need to do a deeper clean when you get back to the office or home or whatever, then do it then. Number 6, arrive at least 45 minutes early. After 9 years, I still arrive an hour early because you just never know. You may hit traffic, you may have like a snafu. It never fails. I get to Bridge Street, there's always a band going on. They're always having to tape a segment while I'm trying to cook in that same area, so having that little extra time, it allows me that opportunity to map it out, spread it out while they do a live taping of something. So that way I'm not interfering. Number 5, know your audience. That's really important. I know my audience for Bridge Street. I know that a lot of them are stay-at-home moms, some of them are retirees, some people that maybe work later in the day and they have a chance to watch Bridge Street. So talk about what they want to hear. You're talking to the average consumer. You're not talking to your professional influencers or people that you, colleagues and source. You're talking to the consumer that really wants to know, how can I eat healthy and indulge at the same time? All right, so sometimes it's not always about that healthy message. Sometimes you got to let them know they can eat. But you know what? They can use low-fat milk, or they can use a low-fat cheese to make it just a little bit lighter and then indulge it. Talk in simple language and layman's terms. Don't use big words that I'm not going to be able to stand. Realize that people that are watching these shows or watching you demo, they're multitasking. They might be taking care of kids at the same time that they are watching your show. And if they hear some big words, they're going to tune you out. But if they hear a simple message, they're going to be able to listen, but at the same time that they're multitasking. The point is keep it really simple. Be conscious of time, all right? Real life moves way, way faster than practice. Realize that maximum you're going to get 4 minutes. 4 minutes live. If you're lucky, you get 3.5, because maybe some other segment went a little bit too long, or you know, if it's a DJ and radios and stuff, you know, they get involved with the conversation. You have to news, and you know what? We only have 2 minutes left. So get your message out really quick. It's the reality of it. I'll remember the first time Cindy went on radio and she had a list of all her talking points came out. She's like, I only got to talk about one thing, because they always get distracted. The host gets distracted, the people on the radio get distracted because maybe you bring some shiny object, and that's what they're intrigued by because it catches their eye and not about what you really want to talk about. If doing TV, don't rely on the anchor to know anything or everything about food and nutrition. This is really important. Put it this way, they know absolutely nothing. It's interesting in the amount of interviews that I've done, and I'll be talking with that person that's going to be interviewing me for a quick shot, whether it's a cooking demonstration or an interview. And they'll ask me a bunch of questions, or we'll discuss certain things, or I'll remind them, you know what, I want to talk about A, B, and C. And they may go for that, but then that may trigger another question. So what they learn in that 5 minutes before you actually do the shoot or that interview is what they know. So make sure that, you know, those messages are simple for them to understand. Some will guide you and some won't. Like I said, they'll get distracted by that shiny object over, you know, or what you're actually grilling at. Hey, take a look at that grill, or look at that George Foreman. Where'd you get that? And it's totally not about your message or what you want to get across. Take the lead. You're the expert. You know, mention, hey, you know what I want to talk about today is this. And you know, and after you've kind of showed that preparation aspect or what you want to talk about, then take them to the next step. And another thing, there's a couple things I want to talk about today. I want to talk to you today about the healthy aspects of eating fruits and vegetables with me. And you know what, I also want to talk about some great lean cuts that are out there. So that's what's important, is that you take the lead and you put it out there, because they'll remember that. We're on to number 2. We're just flying by here. Mistakes happen. Let them go. The biggest mistake that I had on live TV was we plugged in electric grills, and we had them all warmed up, and I was going through steaks and 101, pointing them all out, and the host said, let's throw them on the grill. And we put them on the grill, and there was no sizzle. And we both looked, and we were like, oops. Gotta roll with it. You know, at that moment I'm like, oh, I guess we're having steak tartare today, because the grills had shorted out. They were electric grills. So just kind of go with the flow. If you forget an ingredient, I've done that, forgotten an onion, just bypass it, or say, you know what, there's an onion in here, I put it in earlier, or you know what, there's supposed to be an onion in here, I forgot. You know what, you can do it, you can't do it. Just make it up as you go along. It doesn't have to be, you know, tried and true, because with all recipes and all aspects, people use liberalization too. I don't like cilantro. I'm going to say, you know what, I'm not putting cilantro in this because I personally don't like it. But if you do, go ahead. And it might be in the recipe. If you drop a spoon, so a spoon drops. No big deal. If you don't hit every single ingredient in the recipe, that's why they post it on the websites at the radio stations and TV stations. Don't be afraid to laugh at yourself. People love that. They love it when you can make a quick joke and you can be funny real fast. And if you make a mistake, or you flub, or you get tongue-tied, laugh it off, because they do it too, because they show you at the end of the year all the bloopers that they've done. And if you get a point wrong, don't be afraid to correct yourself and say, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, or this is my first time, or what have you. It happens. It's no big deal. And number one, the last thing to remember is be yourself. We all have our own style. We work within ourselves, and smile and enjoy yourself. It's fun. It'll go by like that. And a lot of times you're not looking at the camera. You're talking to the co-host. You're talking to the people. Radio's simple because you don't have to worry about that. But TV's a little bit different. Oftentimes they have you out, looking differently. So don't worry about the camera. Just be yourself. Know and have confidence in the knowledge and the information that you have, and you'll run with it. A few other pointers off of these 10 tips is make sure that you dress very simply. Wear solid colors. Don't wear plaids or stripes or crazy things because HD TV enhances everything. Also, wear minimal makeup for the girls out there, and guys, wear minimal makeup. Make sure you shave because that 5 o'clock shadow will show up. Make sure, girls, if your hair is really long, a little bit longer than mine, pull it back. You don't want to be flipping your hair around with food, and you don't want to be flipping it with your hands and then touching food because people pick up on those things. So pull it back, make it look nice and neat, and make sure nothing's in your face. Guys, if you have hair or bangs that are long, the flipping of it, very annoying. So make sure you use a little extra hairspray for that. If you're wearing earrings, girls, keep them minimal. All right, maybe this size or a quarter size, or just forget the earrings altogether. Minimal jewelry as far as necklaces. You don't want something big and flashy because that'll detract people. It'll distract them from your message and what you're doing because they'll be looking at this big honking piece of jewelry hanging on your neck and they're wondering, why is she wearing that, and does it match what she's wearing? But for the most part, just talk your talk and cook your food and enjoy yourself and have a good time. So, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me, Jean O'Toole at jotoole@nybeef.org. I'll be more than happy to help you and guide you along the way. Good luck.